Have you ever thought about flipping items for a profit? Maybe you have some extra items laying around, or you even want to turn reselling into a serious side hustle. Either way, I truly believe that eBay is probably the best place to get started. Almost 10 years ago, I got started selling on eBay and quickly realized that with the right strategy, just about anybody can make money selling on the platform. So in this video, I'm breaking down everything you need to know to get started selling on eBay, even if you have never done it before. But first, a little bit about me so you can trust the information that you're getting from today's video. I've been an online seller as my full-time income for over 5 years now. Last year, we did just over $350,000 in sales, all being primarily shoes, and almost $150,000 of those sales came from eBay alone. eBay has been our best and favorite platform in the entire time that we've been selling online, leading us to selling thousands of products on the platform. So I promise, I know what we're doing. I'm not saying this to brag. There's plenty of people doing way more in sales on eBay than we have, but we've sold enough on the platform to at least give you some information to get started. So today we're going to cover how to set up your account, how to list your first item, how to ship it, and then even how to scale your business. So let's jump in. First things first, obviously you're going to need an eBay account. If you don't already have one, head over to ebay.com. In the top left corner of the screen, you're going to see the option to register. Just go ahead and click that. That's going to take you to the sign up screen. All you need to do is enter your name, email address, set up a password. It does give you the option to create either a personal or a business account. If you're just getting started, just go ahead and set up a personal account. The business, if you click over to that tab, is going to say for actually registered businesses, and you probably don't already have a registered business if you're just getting started. So just create a personal account. That's perfectly fine. Now, before we move on, there are a couple things that I want to mention about your account creation. The first one being sometimes you are hit with account limitations on a brand new account. This is how eBay prevents scammers and people just abusing the platform. There's no real way of knowing how many listings they're going to allow you to list when you first get started. In this example, they allotted us 250 listings per month, which is plenty to get started, but I do know in some cases they'll limit it down to 10. The only way to get around that is to just sell some items. After your first few sales that are successful, especially after getting some feedback, you can request a limit increase. It's very simple to get a limit increase. Where I remember way back when I first got started, I was hit with the 10 limit. I listed a few items, made I think 2 sales, and then requested a limit increase, and then was given a high enough limit that I never really had to worry about it again, because as you sell, eBay's going to automatically increase that limit. So you don't really need to worry about continuously requesting a limit increase. It's going to automatically do it. But I know at the very beginning, when it just gives you 10 items, that is kind of constricting, especially if you have a bunch of things laying around the house that you want to get listed and sold. So the best advice is just list your best items first, ship them very quickly, provide good customer service, hopefully get some positive feedback, and then request a limit increase, and you should be good to go from there. Second thing that I will mention is your store subscription. eBay is a free platform to sell on. You don't need a store subscription, but I do want to point this out just in case any of you guys think that you need a store subscription to get started. There's definitely some benefits to upgrading to a store, and the cheapest one is only like $5 a month if you pay annually. So it's relatively inexpensive to get the basic store level, which is going to give you access to coupons and markdown sales and just many different ways to market your items to potential customers. But as you're getting started, that's not necessarily something you need to worry about right off the bat. But once you get established and you see some sales rolling in, it's definitely something to take advantage of. The only other advantage to having a store is they do give you discounted final value fees. So eventually, as you're selling enough items each month, you could potentially offset the cost of the store by the money you're saving on fees. So that's just another thing to keep in mind. On eBay, they do have a page that will give you a breakdown of what store is recommended for you. It's going to ask you how many items you plan on selling per month and what your goal is, whether you're like a hobby seller or you are a massive business selling on eBay. You just select what applies to you, and eBay is going to tell you what store is recommended for you, and then you can compare stores down below. But again, this is something to worry about in the future. When you're just getting started, just get started with the free plan. Let's get some sales under our belt before shelling out any extra money to eBay. Now for the fun part, the actual selling. I always recommend before you go shelling out some money at like a thrift store or a flea market looking for profitable items to resell, just start in your home. I guarantee you have something laying around that you don't want or don't need anymore. And starting with items that you already own is going to save you some upfront money, and it's also going to give you a feel for selling on the platform. You can learn listing, you can learn shipping, you can learn customer service, you can learn sell-through rate, which is something that we're about to talk about soon. So you have a full understanding of the platform before you actually invest money into your business. Some things that I recommend checking out in your home that typically sell pretty quickly. Obviously, I mainly sell shoes. So if you have any shoes in good condition, they're worth looking up and seeing if they're actually selling pre-owned on eBay. If you're just getting started, you'd be surprised. When I first got started, I didn't think people bought used shoes, but now it's one of the main things that I sell in my business. Used shoes sell amazing. Just make sure that they're in gently used condition and they're a model that people are actually looking for. I'll show you how to do that here soon. Maybe you don't have a desirable pair of shoes. Just look for some small things around the house that you do think might have value, like some old small electronics, or maybe even some trading cards that you don't have interest in. Keeping things small and easy to ship, staying away from fragile items is going to be the best option when you're first getting started, learning the shipping process. You want to get things that are small, easy to ship, so you can hit the ground running. So now once you've gathered up some things around the house that you don't need or want anymore that you plan on selling on eBay, before you list them, it's important to see if they actually sell on the platform. And learning this skill is going to help you when you actually do go out to thrift stores, flea markets, if that's something you want to get into, looking for profitable items to resell. Having an idea of the market of an item is essential to make sure that you aren't wasting money on products that you think might sell that actually don't end up selling. So what we're going to talk about now is sell-through rate. And there's an easy way to find that on eBay. You can do it on the desktop or on the mobile app. For this example, I'm going to be using the desktop. The process is basically exactly the same on mobile if that's what you're using. Sell-through rate and what an item is actually selling for are super important numbers to know. Here's how to find them on desktop. I'm going to use a couple of the examples that I had just mentioned. We'll start with the shoes. If you have a pair of shoes laying around the house, if you know the model, that's great. Like say you have a pair of Saucony Endorphin Speed 2s and it's literally written on the side of the shoe. You can just type that into eBay. A lot of shoes have model numbers on the size tag. So with Nike, there's a 9-digit number, 6 digits, hyphen, 3 digits. If you just type that into the search bar, that's going to give you the shoe. So we'll go ahead and use this shoe as our first example. Looks like this is AV441. First thing that I recommend doing is sorting by pre-owned, because obviously brand new items are going to sell for quite a bit more than pre-owned items. So on the mobile app, it's going to be the filter tab in the top right, but on desktop over here on the left, we're going to scroll down until we see pre-owned. We're going to check this box. This is only going to show us pre-owned offers now. And then at the top, as you can see, there are 89 results for the model number of this shoe. Now, one thing to keep in mind is people can list items at whatever they want. That's why you've probably seen listings for Disney VHS tapes for $10,000 or Beanie Babies for $5,000. Like, you can list things for whatever you want, but whether they actually sell or not is a completely different story. So take into account what these items are actually listed for. And then we'll go scroll over down here to the sold items tab over here on the left, again on mobile. Same filter button on the top right. Scroll all the way down and you'll see sold items. We're going to filter this by sold items, and then this is going to show you what the items are actually selling for. As you can see, there are 45 results. So if you remember, there were 89 currently listed and there are 45 sold, and this is showing for the past 90 days. So this one roughly has about a 50% sell-through rate, which is actually pretty good. Especially with pre-owned shoes, what's going to set you apart from the competition is your listing quality, which is something we're going to talk about later in today's video, as well as the condition of the item that you actually have. So sticking to, if you're selling shoes, sticking to pairs that are gently used are going to sell a lot faster than pairs that are considered beaters. Keep that in mind. Now we'll take a look at some of these results. As you can see, with this specific pair, there's a pretty large variety of sold prices. We have $47, we have $130, we have $200. What I try to do in this situation is just find what number seems to be the average. When you're first getting started, it can be tempting to list at the very top of the market and try to get closer to the $200 mark, which is perfectly fine. But if you're trying to get your account off the ground, you're trying to get quick feedback, it's better to list towards the middle of the market. If you see some selling for 130, some selling for 200, it's probably best to list in the middle at like 150, hoping to get a quicker sale. So we're just going to scroll through this, and as you can see, we're even jumping up to 285, 239. It looks like some of the larger sizes, so that's another nuance with shoes. Sometimes there's sizes that are a bit more rare than other sizes, and that's something that you can filter by. Over here on the left, you can select the shoe size that you have if you want to get really down into the nitty gritty of what your specific shoe is selling for. So it looks like these are selling anywhere between 100 on the low end up to 250 on the high end. Again, if you're wanting quick sell, this is something that I'd list right around 150 to maybe 175, depending on your condition, hoping for that quick sell. Now, for one more quick example, we're going to use smaller electronics. Smaller electronics are a little different. Video games are the same way. Since they're all the same product, there's a little less nuances as opposed to shoes. You don't have to quite worry about what sizes sell better than other sizes, if your shoes are in terrible condition versus great condition. As long as the old electronic works, then you're good to go. It's a little easier to determine sell-through rate and value on something like this. So I'm going to go ahead and search this one up, iPod Shuffle. Now we're still filtered by sold listings. So let me go to our active listings. As you can see, there's 930 results. So now we'll go back to our sold listings, see how many have sold in the past 90 days. Looks like we've got 414 sold in the past 90 days. So again, about a 50% sell-through rate. And then we can just check and see some similar solds. As you can see, the ones that have their complete box, complete case that they came with, still sealed right here, obviously going to sell for a lot more. Try to find one. You can see right here, $9.99 free shipping for one that looks pretty damaged, so I wouldn't quite compare to that one. I don't have the charging base for this one, so going to try to avoid those listings. We got one by itself right here for $13.88, but this was from Canada. I'd also kind of avoid that one. Here looks like we have a couple listings that are, a few listings actually, that are exactly what we have. This one's actually the same color. It's blue, $19.99 free shipping, pre-owned, no base, $19.99 free shipping, pre-owned, no base. This is exactly what we're looking for here. We've got a 50% sell-through rate. We see some prices that the item is actually selling for. Again, making sure we're filtered by sold listings. I'd list this up at $19.99. Now, I know we got pretty nitty gritty there for a second, but just to recap, make sure when you are looking up an item's value that you are filtered by sold listings. Anybody can list whatever they want at whatever price, but what they're actually selling for is what actually matters. So find some similar listings, see what they're selling for, check out your sell-through rate. If you search up something that you thought was worth selling on eBay, and say there's 100 listed and there's only 5 sold when you filter by sold, that's typically a bad sign whenever you are getting started. And especially if you only have 10 listings that you can list per month, I wouldn't waste one of those listings on something that has 100 listed and 5 sold in the past 90 days. That means the supply is vastly outweighing the demand. But then on the other hand, if you search something and there are only 5 listed and 100 sold in the past 90 days, that is the perfect item to get started with. List that right there at the middle of the market price, and it's probably going to sell really quick. Get that shipped out quickly, provide good customer service. You'll get your first feedback. You can request some limit increases after that if necessary, and you've got the ball rolling. Now, once you've got a few items listed, one of my favorite ways of increasing sales is by cross-posting those listings to other selling platforms. And that's exactly where today's video sponsor comes in, Vendoo. Vendoo is a listing management software that I use and love that lets you cross-post your listings to up to 11 separate marketplaces, including Poshmark and Mercari, which are 2 platforms that I sell a ton of listings on. And the process of getting your listings over to those marketplaces is super fast, and it only takes a few clicks. And not only are they a cross-listing service, they have many other features that make selling online a whole lot more stress-free. Like their sale detection and auto delist, meaning if you have a listing on eBay, Poshmark, and Mercari, and that item sells on Poshmark, it's automatically going to be delisted from Mercari and eBay, and vice versa. If it sells on, say, eBay, it will be delisted from the other 2 platforms as well. This helps prevent double selling and creating poor customer experiences on your online stores. They also have several bulk tools that let you do many actions at once, saving you time, such as sending offers on platforms or editing your listings in bulk instead of having to do it one by one. There's many features with Vendoo that's going to save you a ton of time. And you might be thinking that this whole video is for beginner eBay sellers. Why do I need to be worrying about software? And that's where Vendoo actually shines. They offer a free plan. So if you're just getting started and you're just listing about 5 things per month, Vendoo has a free plan that you can try them out, up to 5 listings completely for free. And then when you scale up your business and decide to upgrade to a paid subscription, they offer yearly billing that will get you up to 2 months for free, making the service very affordable. So if you're serious about making money online, Vendoo is a tool that will save you time and increase your sales. So if you want to get started, I'll drop a link to them down in the description below, and thank you, Vendoo, for sponsoring today's video. So now that you found some actual items to sell, let's show you how to get those items listed on eBay. eBay makes this super easy for beginner sellers. As you can see, we're still on the search results from the iPod Shuffle, and next to each and every single one of the sold listings, you see this little button that says sell one like this. If you're on mobile and you're looking at your sold listings, if you click on a sold listing at the top of the screen, it's gonna have that exact same button. So you can do this sell similar action on desktop or on mobile. So once you have found an item that sells, you know what you're gonna list it for, you see a listing that's very similar, we're gonna go ahead and click sell one like this. And that's gonna go ahead and boot up the actual listing screen. And most of the things on the listing are already gonna be filled out for you. That's the benefit of using that sell one like this button. So as you can see, we're gonna start off with the title. The best way to put together a title is just by making it clear, easy to read, accurately describing what the item is and including as many keywords as possible. I would also avoid using things like emojis or typing things out in all caps. You may be thinking that things like this are making your items stand out in search, but at the end of the day, it's just making it a little bit harder for the customer to read as well as the eBay algorithm to read. If eBay knows exactly what your item is, they're going to put it in front of customers who are looking for that item. So instead of trying to do all these flashy things with your title, just making it simple, easy to read, and accurately describing your item is the best way to put a title together. So this one's great. Apple iPod Shuffle, 2nd generation. I'd always start with the brand, followed by the model. If you're selling your shoes, that's when the size would come in, and then follow that up by some keywords. So some good keywords here. They put 1 gigabyte in the title. They put A204, which is the model number, in the title. They put blue in the title. Works/read is something that's kind of electronics specific. I know when you're searching electronics, a lot of things pop up that may be in damaged or for parts only condition. So putting the condition in the title for electronics can be very effective, as well as putting read, just in case there's anything wrong with your item. You can try to make sure that the buyers are reading the description. But other than this, I'd fill this out with as many keywords as possible. If this was a wireless iPod, I would put wireless in the title. I'm not too well versed on anything other than shoes, but whatever item specifics you think are relevant to the item that you're trying to sell, this is exactly where I'd put those. And then moving on, we're going down to the item specifics. Now this is where a lot of people get a little bogged down. There seems like a lot of things that need to be filled out. But if you're selling similar on another item, most of them are going to be filled out for you. There are 2 types of item specifics. There are the required ones. As you can see, it says required details are missing. These are the ones that you have to fill out. And then the additional item specifics that aren't required, you don't have to fill them out, but I would go through them and fill out as many as you can to the best of your knowledge. The more that you fill out, it's just helping eBay get an understanding of what it is that you're selling so they can put it in front of the proper customers. So the more that you fill out, the better, but don't feel like you have to fill out all of them. Just make sure that you get the required ones filled out. And this is where you're going to upload your photos. The number one biggest thing when it comes to photos is the lighting. As long as you're taking well-lit photos that clearly show the item with no distractions in the image, you're good to go. A good free tip is to just take pictures in front of a window with some daylight coming in. You don't have to buy fancy lights or anything. The sun is a nice free lighting source that is going to be very effective. So if you can take pictures outside, great. If you can take pictures next to your window, great. As far as camera, if you have a modern smartphone, your camera is more than good enough. And when you're taking the pictures on your smartphone, make sure you have it in square mode. eBay likes square photos, so make sure you're using that 1:1 aspect ratio. Snap some clear photos in that well lighting, and then we're going to upload them right here. If you're doing this listing from your phone, you can literally snap the pictures within the eBay app. If you're doing it on your desktop, you're going to have to get the pictures over to your desktop and upload them from your computer. For your description, you don't have to get super descriptive here. It doesn't have to go super in depth. I try not to oversell my items, especially if on something like shoes. I don't want to say amazing condition, 9 out of 10 condition. I don't want to use any descriptive things like that. I want to take really good, clear photos and put together a very clear set of item specifics so the buyer can look at the pictures themselves, look at the item specifics, and get a clear understanding of what they are getting. I don't want to put any of my opinions in the description because my opinion on good condition can vary based on the buyer's perception of good condition. So clear pictures are the most important. If there's anything that you need to point out in the description, like say with this iPod Shuffle, the last person put read in the title, whatever it is that you want the customer to read, the description is a good place to put that. For something like this, I would just be very simple. I'd just use something like this. In good working condition, see photos for cosmetic condition, please reach out with any questions. That's a perfect description. Most buyers aren't even reading the description. This right here is just letting them know that it works, is directing them to the photos, and to reach out to you if they have any questions. eBay does have this new, as you can clearly see, let AI draft it for you, use AI description. I don't love using this. Sometimes it comes like it clearly comes off as AI written. It's just going to take all of the item specifics that you filled out as well as your title and generate a description that is based off of those item specifics. It can be very accurate, but if you ever have any small errors in your item specifics, it's going to put that in the description, and it's just giving buyers too much to read, in my opinion. whenever I tested out using the AI description, because it is a lot faster, just clicking a button and the descriptions are automatically filled out, I found that when I was using these descriptions, I got way more customer messages that were just asking questions that could have been avoided by not using AI. So I choose not to use AI. And here's where you're going to put your pricing in. I recommend selling everything by It Now. Auctions used to be the main way to sell on eBay, but they really aren't quite effective unless you have something that is in a very high demand. Say one of those items that has 5 listed and 100 sold, like something like that, that's clearly selling every single day and there's not a lot listed. Sure, an auction could come in handy, but I always prefer to just find the price that I want to sell the item for and then list the item for that price. We determined $19.99 was a good price for this iPod Shuffle. You can click this More Options drop-down button, and I always like to turn on Allow Offers. You can enter a minimum price if you'd like, but allowing offers just gives buyers the option to send an offer. And if I got like an $18 offer is only $2 off, doesn't really move the needle too much, I'd go ahead and accept that. As opposed to losing that sale to another listing that has offers turned on that the buyer could send that offer to that listing. So having the offers on is just going to lead to a little bit more sales. And then I don't worry about listing start time. If you have more than one of an item, this is only for like brand new items. I wouldn't do quantity on a pre-owned item, but if you have quantity of a brand new item, you can add that in here. Now for the shipping section, the big thing that I want to mention is you can offer free shipping or you can charge shipping. Whichever one you choose is going to affect what your listing price is. So this iPod Shuffle that we just listed up, we saw based on the comps that people were selling them for $19.99 free shipping. So we can sell this item for $19.99 free shipping, or we can sell it for $14.99 plus $5 in shipping. We cannot, however, list it for $19.99 plus $5 in shipping. That is going to give it a total purchase price of $25 when the market is only $20. So if you're listing too high above the market because you're adding in shipping, that is going to lead to slower sells. For this example, since this is small, lightweight, easy to ship, free shipping is a great option to take advantage of. This is only going to cost a few bucks to ship. Best practice would be put this in the packaging that you plan on shipping it in and measuring it and getting the package dimensions. If you don't want to do that up front, you can do this while you're purchasing the shipping after the item sells. But best practice would be to know exactly what the item weight is, as well as the dimensions of the package that it's going to be shipped in. So this one's going to be shipped in a 9x6x1 bubble mailer is what I would personally ship this in. The package weight, I don't have a scale with me, but I can imagine this probably weighs about 5 ounces. I'll plug that in, and it's giving us the option to either offer free shipping, which is what I personally would do on this listing. This is going to give you an idea of what shipping might cost. It could cost a little bit less than this. It could cost a little bit more than this based on where it is shipping. This does seem to be like a higher end evaluation based on my history in shipping and the package weight and the package dimensions. If you're selling shoes, for example, or anything else that isn't like super lightweight, super cheap and easy to ship, I would go ahead, especially if you're first getting started, to go ahead and offer calculated shipping. This is going to make sure that the buyer pays enough shipping to cover the shipping label. So that way you're not going to get hit with a $15 shipping label when you were expecting it to be $8, and it kind of cuts into your profit that you're really expecting to get out of that item. So when you're first getting started, calculated shipping is the way to go. The buyer's going to cover all the fees that is necessary to purchase that shipping label. You just have to make sure that you're entering in the correct package weight and package dimensions when you're putting that listing together to give eBay the proper information to calculate the shipping for the buyer on the buyer's end. But again, if you do calculated shipping, you need to factor that into your price. So if we're doing this iPod Shuffle here, instead of doing $19.99 free shipping, if we're doing calculated shipping, I would go ahead and drop this price down to $14.99 plus shipping. The buyer's going to pay the shipping. We don't need to worry about promoting. I don't ever do local pickup. Your listing preferences, this one's important. I think the faster you can get the item out, the higher it's going to show up in search results. Buyers want quick shipping. So if you can do one business day shipping time, great. But if you want to give yourself, if you're not checking eBay every single day, starting off with 2 business days just so you give yourself that buffer in case you can't make it out at the post office, it's a great way to start. And then you can just put your region where you're shipping from. If you'd like to accept returns, great. When I'm getting started, I always turn the returns off. I don't want some early returns to, make me lose motivation in my eBay store. So I start off by not accepting returns. And then later on, as you're scaling your business, offering returns is going to be a great way to give buyers more confidence in purchasing from you. I always do recommend having your returns turned on, but as a brand new seller, I'd go ahead and turn them off. Just make sure that you are listing items accurately, because if you inaccurately describe an item and you sell that item to a buyer and the buyer realizes that it is inaccurately described, they still will be able to return that item to you, even if you do not allow returns. So make sure you're describing your items accurately, and it's okay to turn off returns. And we'll save that. You can donate to charity if you'd like. I'm assuming if you're just getting started, probably not something you really want to look into. And then you're just going to go ahead and hit list. And you're good to go. Your item is listed. So now that you have some listings up, sales are probably going to start rolling in, and shipping is one of those things that scares a lot of people. And I'm here to tell you that you definitely don't need to be scared of shipping. It's super easy through eBay. There's really only 2 tips that I need to give you. The first one being is make sure that you are purchasing your shipping labels through eBay. When a sale rolls in, you're going to have the option to purchase your shipping label. And from that screen, you just enter the weight and the dimensions, which if you filled them out properly in your listing are already going to be filled out for you. You then select your preferred shipping method, purchase the label, and then eBay is going to give you a label that you can then print off and place on your package and take to the post office. Never go to the post office first to print off your shipping label. If you sell an item on eBay and you take that item packaged up to the post office and ask them for a shipping label for that item, they're going to charge you a lot of money. Like, you can save, I'm not exaggerating, literally up to 70% off of certain shipping carriers' labels just by buying it on eBay. So never buy postage at the post office, always purchase it through eBay. And then my second tip is related to shipping supplies. Shipping supplies are always going to be the cheapest when you buy them in bulk. So when you're first getting started, it probably doesn't make sense to buy 1,000 poly bags or 1,000 boxes to make sure that you get your prices as cheap as possible. So don't expect to completely optimize your shipping costs from day one. I recommend when you're first getting started to just go buy some shipping material locally from either Walmart or the dollar store. The shipping supplies at the dollar store are actually technically kind of expensive because you're only buying one of them and it's costing you $1, when if you bought them in bulk, you could get them for as cheap as like 10, 15 cents, depending on what the item is. So it can be technically more expensive at the dollar store, but it's a really good place to go if you only need one of something. Because when you're first getting started, if you don't know how long you're going to be selling on eBay, you don't know how many items similar to the one you're shipping now you're going to be shipping out in the future, it's always best to buy one of the shipping supplies versus 1,000 of them and just having them sit around. So dollar store is a great place to get shipping supplies. Walmart is another great place. You can get bubble wrap, packing paper, boxes, everything you need locally. And then as you scale up, looking for supplies on, say, Amazon or American Bubble Boy for bubble wrap, or Uline. There's many places to buy shipping supplies in bulk that's going to give you much bigger savings. But again, I recommend getting some of the smaller quantities before you start selling items, so you're not scrambling around all over town looking for shipping supplies because you have to get an item out to the post office that same day because you promised same day shipping or 1 day handling and it's already been a day. Just go ahead and get that knocked out ahead of time. And then the only other thing is, after you purchase the shipping label on eBay and eBay sends you that shipping label, you're going to need to print that label off and tape it onto your package. You don't need to go out and buy a fancy thermal printer when you're just getting started. They are relatively cheap nowadays. You can get some like off-brand ones on Amazon for probably like $70 to $100. They're not all $200 or $300 like they used to be, but $70 is still quite a large expense when you're getting started. So if you have an inkjet printer around your house, like the one I have right behind me, you can literally print it off on a regular sheet of paper, cut it out, and tape it onto the box. When I was first getting started, my hack was going to my apartment complex's office. I didn't have a printer. I didn't have any printing supplies, but I lived in an apartment complex and they had an office downstairs that was free to use. So I would just go down there, print off all my shipping labels for free, and take them back to my apartment and package everything up. Now, say you don't live in an apartment complex, you don't have a printer, eBay has started offering QR codes. Whenever you sell an item, they will provide you a QR code, and then you can take it to a post office, have the employee scan the QR code for you, and they will print the label for you. I've never personally tried this, but it sounds super easy. I'm sure that plenty of people use it, and it's definitely a great option if you don't have a printer at home. Just remember that you need to bring the item pre-packaged up with you to the post office. They're not going to package it up for you. So package your item up, bring the QR code to the post office, and you'll be good to go. It's as easy as that. Now, after the shipping process, I did want to briefly talk about customer service, because customer service is very important, especially early on when you're trying to get feedback. Providing customers with a good buying experience is going to ensure that you are going to get positive feedback. If you're specifically looking for positive feedback, a great way to do this is just by including a thank you card in your packages with a little note saying thank you for shopping my eBay store. It would mean the world to us if you could leave us feedback. Just whatever it is. It doesn't have to be anything extravagant. You don't have to buy postcards or anything. It can literally just be a handwritten note. Tossing that in your package is going to increase the amount of feedback that you are getting. And then aside from receiving feedback after the sale, customer service is very important before the sale as well, making sure that you are answering all questions professionally and quickly after you are receiving the questions is going to lead to a better buying experience. And then I briefly mentioned earlier that if a buyer purchases something, even if you have returns turned off, they still possibly could return that item. And just to elaborate on that, meaning if you list something inaccurately, it's not accurately described in the listing, and the buyer gets that item and they open up what is called an INAD, item not as described, return, it's automatically going to be approved by eBay. So in order to avoid this, again, just make sure you're putting together quality listings that accurately describe what it is that you're selling, and just double, triple check for no mistakes. So just keep in mind that if you make any mistakes on eBay, you could in fact get a return even if your returns are turned off. And then again, as I mentioned earlier, as you scale up, I always recommend turning returns on. It just really improves the buyer experience, knowing that they have the option to return an item if they don't like it within the first 30 days or 60 days, whichever one you prefer. And then when that day comes and you do turn your returns on, just try to remember that no seller likes returns, even if they have returns turned on. So you're not alone when you're getting frustrated when you see a return come in, but just try to remember that they happen. Every single big business in the world has to deal with returns. It's just part of doing business. Get that item back and then sell it once again on eBay and learn from your mistakes. If you get some item not as described returns for something that you missed, like say you start selling shoes and you don't realize how some older shoes will be separating between the sole and the upper, and you don't think to check for that, and you list it, you sell it, the buyer gets it, and then the sole falls off. Now you've learned, hey, maybe I should double and triple check the condition of these shoes before I list them on eBay. Anything that you can learn from, any mistakes that you make, try to turn them into learning experiences and use that to provide a better customer experience for your next buyer. All right, now we've pretty much covered all of the basics. We've learned how to put a listing together, shipping the listing, providing good customer service. The only thing really left is to talk about scaling your business, the actual exciting part. There's a few tips that I will give you. First off is start keeping track of your numbers as early as possible. When you first start selling on eBay, just create a spreadsheet on Google Sheets. It's completely free to just track your cost of goods, what your items are selling for, what the fees are that you're paying for them, what the shipping cost is, and what your net profit is after shipping and fees. There's two real reasons to keep track of these numbers. One, regardless of how much profit you make, you're gonna have to pay taxes on that profit. And if you don't know how much you spent on items to resell, you don't know what your fees are, you don't know what your shipping costs are. The IRS doesn't know this either, so they're just gonna see your total sales and they're gonna expect you to pay taxes on the total sales. So you need to be keeping track of all your expenses. The cost of goods sold is an expense, the shipping is an expense, the fees is an expense, all of your shipping supplies are expenses, and you can subtract those expenses from your total dollars sold to lower the amount of taxes that you are going to owe. So keeping good track of your numbers is going to save you money in the long run. And then the second big reason to be keeping track of your numbers is to just learn what's selling. If you can just have a spreadsheet that shows you every single thing that you've sold through your eBay store, you can scroll through that once a month, say, oh, I didn't quite make as much money on this as I expected. Oh, I made a lot more on this item than I was expecting. Oh, I'm selling a ton of shoes this month, which is exactly what happened to me. When I first got started, I sold just about anything and everything. And after looking at spreadsheets, I realized I'm selling a ton of shoes and all of these other things just aren't quite selling for me. Maybe I'll just stop selling all these other things and just focus on shoes. There's many things that you can learn about your business just by simply keeping track of your numbers and looking at a spreadsheet often. And learning things from your business is the easiest way to grow your business because you can stop focusing on things that aren't performing and start focusing all of your energy on things that are performing. For me, that was shoes. For you, that could be iPod shuffles. For you, that could be trading cards, whatever it is. Find something that works for you and lean into it. There's many different places to source inventory, and it kind of depends on what kind of inventory that's working for you. But once you upgrade from selling things around the house and you've decided to start going out there and looking for profitable inventory, some great places to check out are local thrift stores. Some of these can be a little expensive nowadays depending on where you live. And it really does depend on where you live because some thrift store chains are going to be really expensive in one city and really cheap in another city. So I can't just say, Avoid Goodwill because they're all really overpriced, because in your area they could be underpriced. In my area they could be overpriced. But look for some smaller thrift store chains that probably aren't as busy and frequented as the bigger thrift stores like Goodwill or Salvation Army, but definitely check all of them. Thrift stores are great, garage sales are great, flea markets are great. If you want to sell new products, there is tons of opportunities in retail arbitrage, shopping at discount stores like Ross, Burlington, Marshall's, Home Goods, those kind of places. There's a ton of opportunity out there. It's just going to be a slightly higher cost of goods. If you don't have quite as much cash to get started, the garage sales and the flea markets are going to be your best friend. Those are the places where you can get the cheapest inventory, that have the highest ROI, and you can start upgrading into maybe some brand new tags items, some items that maybe don't have quite as high an ROI, but they sell really fast. There's many ways to scale your business, but it all comes down to knowing your numbers and leaning into what's working. When you find a new sourcing method, if it's working, lean into it and milk it for everything that it has to offer. And don't be afraid to adapt or change, because just because something's working for you now doesn't mean it's going to be working for you in 2 years. It's always best to keep your eyes open and your mind open to learning new sourcing methods and figuring out something that might even work better than what's working for you right now. So that was really just a long-winded way of telling you that if you want to scale your eBay business, to just pay attention to your eBay business. Focus on your numbers and lean into what's working. So that's really everything you need to know to get started selling on eBay. Whether you're just flipping stuff from around the house or you want to build a full-time resale business, the key is to just get started. If you found this video helpful, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe for some more reselling tips. And let me know in the comments what your first item that you're going to sell on eBay is. Or if you've already sold that first item, what was it?